Councillor Mark Ingle, leader of Harlow Council. Once again, Harlow is in the glare of publicity regarding the permitted developments, the office blocks. So firstly, the new report, the Children Commission report, do you welcome this report?
Yeah, I do welcome the report. It's shocking, but it's not surprising. We have a national housing crisis, and the effects of that, unfortunately, in a small part are playing out in Harlow.
And of course, do you have to establish actually that Harlow Council have been discussing this, and it's reflected on our pages of our newspaper, for nearly 2 years?
Oh, we have. The issue is that in 2013, the current Tory government passed something called permitted development rights, which allowed the owners of office blocks to convert office blocks into accommodation without going through normal planning channels and without actually paying any deference towards local planning policies with regards to space and the suitability of accommodation.
I think some Tories have admitted that it was a mistake, but so how do we redress this problem, this mistake?
Well, look, really, the toxic mix is not only permitted development, but it's also something called the local housing allowance cap. And that was something introduced actually in 2008 by the Labour government. But when the Tories came into power in 2010, they stopped increasing it in line with the increasing in rental costs. And it was originally pitched such that residents in receipts of benefits could only be paid the rent of the bottom third of properties in their area. And as rents went up and the housing allowance didn't, the proportion of houses that were available to London councils became smaller and smaller. And then in 2016, the government froze the local housing allowance cap. And there are some London boroughs who are saying to us now that they have no accommodation at all that fits within the band that they're allowed to pay. So we have a real pressure from London authorities and other East of England authorities to find a solution to a housing crisis caused by the local housing allowance cap. And then we have relatively inexpensive accommodation being produced without planning permission in Harlow, which is drawing that problem into Harlow.
Have you actually physically met with other London Council, and how have those meetings gone?
Yeah, I have met with them. I met with the collection of London leaders about a month ago. The day before yesterday, I met with the leader of Enfield Council, and they are very sympathetic to the problems that are being caused. But what they're saying is one of the reasons that they need to look out at borough is not only because of the local housing allowance cap, but also because inner London boroughs are relocating their housing crisis out to the outer London boroughs, who are then looking to Harlow. It's a ripple effect. We're all saying the same thing. This can be solved. This can be solved. The government could stop permitted development rights tomorrow, which would give councils the ability to plan conversions properly, so the accommodation would be of an acceptable standard and in the right place. They could review the local housing allowance cap, and more importantly, they could start a programme of building houses.
And just to be fair, as to put the record straight, are Harlow Council actually placing anybody within these 13 different office blocks in Harlow?
We do. We have some residents in Templefields House. We use it on an emergency basis for as short a term as possible. The accommodation that we use, of course, we've seen and we've inspected. It meets the shelter standard for emergency temporary accommodation. The problem is with blocks like Terminus houses, we're not allowed in there. And I know that it doesn't meet the standards. One of my fellow councillors, Councillor Mark Wilkinson, managed to get in to see a single mother who lives in a bedsit in Terminus house. It's her and her 2 children. It's a single bedsit. She has no toilet, she has no bathroom. She has to share those with residents of other bedsits. In 2019, the 5th richest country in the world, this is unacceptable.